You ever get that gut-sinking feeling? Like you just walked into a room where someone's been talking about you, and they left the air thick with secrets? That was me. Friday night. I had my feet up, a game on mute, and my phone in hand. I wasn't snooping, just scrolling through my banking app like I do every couple days. Except this time, something wasn't right. 3 charges from a designer boutique in Beverly Hills. One for $1,400. Another for $900. The third, a staggering $2,200 for a handbag I couldn't even pronounce. I froze. My thumb hovered mid-scroll. Maybe it was fraud. Maybe someone got her card. But deep down I knew. Lisa, I called out, my voice calm but clipped. She was in the hallway mirror, reapplying lip gloss. Still in her loungewear, like nothing was off. She didn't even look up. Yeah, what's with these charges? These luxury purchases from last week? That's when she turned. Slow, deliberate, like she'd been waiting for this moment to arrive. Wow, she scoffed, arms crossing. You really do track every penny, huh? Lisa, this is thousands of dollars. You didn't even mention it. Because I don't need to, she said, raising her chin. I'm not 10 years old, Michael. I don't need permission to buy a bag. It's not about permission. It's about respect. We share that account. You know that. She threw her head back in an exaggerated laugh, then narrowed her eyes. Respect? You want to talk respect? How about the way you micromanage everything like you're the CFO of this marriage? I stood up slowly, setting my phone on the coffee table. You really think being responsible is controlling? I think you're obsessed with control. And money is just your favorite tool. The tension in the room went from simmer to boiling. So what? Buying designer bags behind my back is some kind of protest. Maybe it's a reminder that I exist outside your spreadsheets and budget trackers. She snatched her phone off the counter and stormed past me. You want a wife or a business partner, Michael? Because I didn't marry a calculator. Her words stung more than I wanted to admit. And before I could answer, she was gone, down the hall, slamming the bedroom door behind her. I stood there in the living room, the screen of my phone still glowing with dollar signs and betrayal. It wasn't just about the money. It was the attitude, the defiance, the complete disregard for what we'd built together. My name's Michael Collins. I'm 34. I work in project management for a mid-sized tech firm in Seattle. I pay my taxes, mow my own lawn, and I've always been the kind of guy who believes in building things slowly, with care. A marriage, a house, a future. And in 10 minutes, I realized mine might be crumbling. But that night, something snapped. I wasn't just upset. I was aware. Aware that something deeper was broken, and that this little financial ambush was only the beginning. You might think the worst part was finding out. But no, the worst part was realizing how easily she'd thrown us away without blinking. And the scariest part? I hadn't even gotten to the bottom of it yet. The next morning, I woke before the sun. The kind of early that makes the world feel colder than it really is. I padded into the kitchen barefoot, the tile biting at my soles like the night before hadn't quite forgiven me yet. The house was still, just the soft hum of the fridge and the gentle tap of rain against the windows. I didn't bother turning on the lights, just started brewing coffee, one mug at a time. The process helped me think, measure, pour, wait. Lisa walked in while the second mug was filling. She wore one of my old hoodies, the one with the frayed cuffs she always stole. It used to feel intimate. Now it just looked borrowed. She didn't say good morning, just grabbed a spoon and started stirring yogurt at the counter like it was any other day, like we hadn't just detonated something hours ago. I handed her a mug without asking. Black, the way she liked it before she stopped pretending to care about small things like shared preferences. I'm not angry, I said quietly. She looked up then, mildly surprised. Could have fooled me. I just want to talk, I added. Calmly. No yelling, no accusations. She shrugged. That's new. I ignored the jab. It's not about the purchases. I mean, it is, but it's more than that. It's about feeling like we're not on the same team anymore. She rolled her eyes and took a sip of coffee. Michael, it's a purse, not a betrayal. You're right, I said. It's not the money. It's the silence, the secrecy, the shrug after thousands of dollars vanished from our shared account, like that's normal. She leaned on the counter, swishing the coffee in her cup. You're making it into a whole thing. Again, because it is a whole thing, I replied. We used to talk about everything. Now, You don't even look me in the eye when we're in the same room." That got her attention. She looked up, finally, and smiled, but it wasn't warmth. It was mockery wrapped in indifference. "You think this is about a bag? No, Michael. This is about you needing to control everything, because you think managing money equals managing me." I stared at her for a moment, the silence stretching between us like a rope fraying at both ends. "That's not what this is. I want us to be partners. I want us to respect what we're building." She scoffed, tossing her spoon into the sink with a loud clatter. "Building? You mean maintaining? A routine? A checklist? A life so safe and calculated, I could sleepwalk through it." I swallowed hard. "Then say that. Don't just torch the joint account and act like it's my fault for noticing." She turned her back to me, leaning over the counter. "You know what your problem is? You think respect means agreement. That if I push back, I'm being disrespectful. Maybe I'm just being real." "No," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "You're being cruel." She flinched, just slightly, but covered it with another sip of coffee. "Or maybe you're just too sensitive." The spoon dripped yogurt down the side of the sink. I watched it trail down like it was drawing a line between us. She didn't apologize. She didn't explain. She just grabbed her phone off the counter and left the kitchen, mug still in hand, leaving behind the scent of citrus lotion and contempt. I sat there for a long time after she left, staring at her half-finished yogurt and the silence she wore like armor. I wasn't angry. Not yet. But something inside me was retreating. And once a man starts retreating emotionally, there's not always a road back. There's a kind of silence that doesn't settle. It hovers. It waits. Like a storm that's forgotten how to pour but refuses to pass. That was our house for the next few days. Lisa didn't slam doors anymore. She didn't raise her voice. That would have required energy, something she only gave to the glowing screen of her phone. She'd curl up on the couch at night, legs tucked under her, scrolling through feeds with a half-smirk on her face, headphones in, the rest of the world locked out, including me. I stopped asking where she was going. I stopped asking who she was texting, because I already knew what her silence meant. She wasn't trying to fix things. She was waiting to see how much I'd bent. She came home later than usual. No explanation. No apology. Just kicked off her shoes by the door and went straight to the bedroom, barely offering a glance. And when she did speak, it was only in passing. "Can you move your car? Did the mail come? We're out of oat milk." It felt like living with a ghost who didn't even know she was haunting you. One night, I watched her from across the dinner table, both of us chewing quietly, chewing past the awkwardness like it was part of the meal. She didn't even look up, just scrolled between bites, pausing only to reply to whatever had her half smiling in that distant way. "So," I said gently, "are we ever going to talk about the other night?" Her eyes flicked up, barely. "What's left to say?" "I don't know," I said, folding my hands. "Maybe something about how we got here." She blinked, then went back to her phone. "We're fine, Michael. Just drop it." That, "we're fine," hit harder than any insult. Not because I believed it, but because I knew she did. Or at least, she wanted to. It's easier to pretend everything's fine when you've stopped caring about how broken it feels. So I stopped pushing, stopped asking, stopped hoping. I started sleeping with my back to her. Not out of spite, but self-preservation. She didn't notice. Or if she did, she didn't care. Her side of the bed smelled like rose water and detachment. Mine smelled like silence and restraint. During the day, we functioned like a team of reluctant coworkers. Bills were paid. Chores were divided. The house ran like clockwork. Cold, quiet clockwork. But in the cracks of that routine, I saw it all. She wasn't trying to make me angry. She wasn't even trying to hurt me. She just didn't see me anymore. Like I was furniture. Like I was a placeholder until something more exciting showed up. And yet, despite the bruised pride and the ache of watching her slip further away, I stayed patient. Because some part of me, some foolish, stubborn part, still believed she might find her way back. That the woman I married was buried under all that coldness, waiting for a reason to come up for air. But each passing day chipped away at that belief. And one night, while brushing my teeth, I caught my own reflection mid-thought and asked the question I'd been avoiding. What if she's already gone? It was a Saturday evening, the kind where the air feels soft and the backyard lights string a kind of warmth you can almost believe in. We'd invited a few close friends over. People who'd known us long enough to think we were still the same couple they'd toasted at our wedding. Lisa played the part beautifully. She laughed easily, smiled generously, and even leaned into me a few times like the past week hadn't been a slow-motion collapse. If you didn't know us, you'd think we were solid. You'd think we'd just come back from some romantic weekend, instead of walking past each other like strangers for days. But I knew better. Dinner was served: grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, corn with butter still melting on the cob. Everyone talked over each other, stories bouncing between drinks, a familiar chaos that felt like home. Then someone, our friend Derek, always the enthusiastic one, raised his glass and grinned. "We should all do something," he said, already half laughing. "A couple's getaway. Just the six of us. Somewhere warm. Like Sedona or Napa." The table lit up with agreement. It was the kind of idea that felt like a plan the second it was spoken. Lisa smiled and nodded along with everyone. "That sounds amazing," she said, reaching for the wine. That's when I said it, without raising my voice, without bitterness, just casual enough to sound like a joke, until you realized it wasn't. "She might want to sit this one out," I said, glancing at her. Pretty sure she already spent her vacation budget on a purse. The silence hit instantly, like a switch flipped mid-laugh. Lisa froze mid-bite, her fork halfway to her mouth. Her smile died before she could swallow. Everyone else looked down or away, trying to pretend they didn't feel the shift in the air. A few forced chuckles broke the quiet, nervous and brief. Lisa set her fork down slowly. I didn't look at her, just reached for my water, took a sip, and kept my eyes on the flickering citronella candle at the center of the table. Derek cleared his throat. "Well, maybe next month, yeah? Plenty of time to plan." Someone changed the subject. Something about wine varietals or hiking trails. I didn't catch it. I wasn't listening, because I could feel Lisa's stare burning across the table. Not in rage, not in confusion, in panic. She hadn't expected that. Hadn't expected me to draw the curtain back, even just an inch, in front of an audience. After dinner, while everyone lingered with dessert and laughter slowly stitched itself back together, Lisa barely spoke. She excused herself early, retreating inside with a half-empty glass of Pinot Grigio and a silence I could hear from the yard. I stayed outside. Let the night run its course. Let her sit with the weight of what I'd said and what I hadn't. Because that wasn't a threat or a punishment. It was a mirror. And for the first time in weeks, she'd caught a glimpse of herself in it. The guests were gone. The dishes were stacked neatly by the sink, wine glasses drying upside down on a towel. Outside, the tiki lights flickered in the breeze, casting long shadows on the empty chairs. I was at the kitchen counter, scraping plates into the trash, when I heard her approach. "Lisa." She walked in barefoot, arms crossed over her chest like she was cold, or just trying to hold something in. "You embarrassed me," she said softly. I didn't turn around. I didn't say anything that wasn't true. "You said it in front of our friends." I looked up then, met her eyes. Was it the truth that hurt, or the fact that someone else finally saw it? She flinched, just slightly. "You made me sound reckless, like I'm some spoiled teenager." I dried my hands with a towel and leaned against the counter. "Lisa, you spent over $4,000 on handbags without a word to me. That's not an opinion. That's a receipt." Her lips parted, ready to fire back, but she didn't. Not right away. Instead, she looked down at the floor like she wasn't sure which version of herself to be right now. The defensive one? The aloof one? Or something else? "Are you really planning to go on that trip without me?" she asked, her voice quieter this time. Vulnerable. I shrugged. "It's a possibility." A long silence settled between us. The kind that demands an answer, but offers none. Finally, she spoke again. "You're serious?" I nodded. "I'm serious about a lot of things lately." She stepped closer, her eyes searching mine for something familiar. Some version of the Michael who used to flinch first, who used to chase. But I didn't move. "I made a mistake," she said. "But you're acting like I committed a crime." I tilted my head. "Is that how you see it? That this is about one mistake?" She looked away. "It's not about the bags, Lisa. It's not about the money. It's about what it meant. You didn't just spend. It's that you didn't care that I'd find out. You expected me to swallow it, like everything else. I just wanted to feel something," she whispered. That hit harder than I expected, because it was honest, and I could see it on her face, This wasn't sarcasm or spite. It was confusion. Shame, maybe. I wanted to feel like I mattered again, she added, voice catching slightly. I leaned forward, hands flat on the counter. Then you should have talked to me, not buried it in silk and leather. She nodded, slowly. You're right. It was the first time in weeks she'd said that without sarcasm. I stood there, watching her. For a moment, we were just two people surrounded by dirty dishes and leftover cake, trying to make sense of something we'd both lost track of. Then I said it. Simple. Calm. Actions have consequences. She swallowed hard. So what happens now? That depends on you. She blinked. What do you mean? I met her gaze. You've had all the power for weeks, Lisa. You decided what you wanted, how you spent, how we talked, or didn't. I gave you space. I gave you grace. But now, it's my turn to decide. Her jaw tightened, but not in anger. In something closer to fear. Are you saying you're leaving? I didn't answer directly. Instead, I picked up another plate, turned on the faucet, and calmly said, I'm saying I'm not waiting around to be disrespected again. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't have a comeback. Just silence. The same silence she'd weaponized, now returned to sender. A week passed. We didn't talk much. Not because we were fighting, but because the words between us had dried up. What could be said that hadn't already been left unsaid? That Saturday morning, I opened the bedroom closet and pulled out the suitcase. Not the small one for quick weekends. The big one. The one with the scuffed corners and the stubborn zipper from our honeymoon trip to Maui. The sound of it dragging across the hardwood caught her attention. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, but she wasn't scrolling, just staring at the blank screen like it might tell her what to do. You're really going? She asked without looking up. I didn't answer, just started laying clothes out on the bed. Shirts, jeans, sneakers. Nothing fancy, just comfortable. I didn't think you were serious. My voice was calm. I told you I might go. She nodded slowly. And I guess that means without me. I folded a shirt and placed it into the suitcase. I figured you'd already taken your vacation this month. That stung. I could see it. Her spine straightened. Her jaw clenched. But she didn't fight back. Not this time. I could help you pack, she offered, tentative. I paused, turned to face her. Why? She opened her mouth, then closed it again. I don't know, she finally said. Maybe I just don't want you to go. It was the first honest thing she'd said in days. Maybe weeks. I sat on the edge of the bed, a few feet from her. You didn't seem to mind the distance until now. That's not fair, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. No, what's not fair is trying to fix something only when you feel it slipping through your fingers. We sat in silence, both staring at the half-packed suitcase like it might decide our next move. She shifted slightly, her voice softer. Do you still want me to come? I met her eyes, and I saw it. The flicker of the woman I once knew. Not confident, not defensive, just unsure. I wanted a partner, Lisa, not someone who treats our marriage like a burden. I know, she whispered. I wanted someone who saw value in what we were building, not someone who spends their half of the life we're creating on things that say me instead of us. Her eyes shimmered, but she didn't cry. Not yet. I've been thinking, she said, her voice almost childlike. About what you said. About respect. About partnership. And I don't know if I know how to be that person anymore. But I want to try. I stood up and zipped the suitcase. Trying means more than words. She stood too, slowly, like her body was heavier than it had ever been. Then let me show you. If it's not too late. I didn't respond right away. Just walked over to the dresser, grabbed my watch, and slid it onto my wrist. She watched me the whole time, like she was waiting for a verdict. But all I said was, pack light, and I walked out of the room. Behind me, I heard the quiet gasp of someone who hadn't expected mercy and wasn't sure yet what to do with it. The morning of the trip, the house felt different. Not peaceful, just paused. Lisa hadn't packed, at least not that I could see. She wandered the house slowly, like someone waiting for a verdict. Like every step might be the last one in a story, she didn't want to end this way. I finished my coffee, zipped the suitcase, and stood at the front door with my jacket folded over my arm. She stood by the stairs in an oversized sweater, barefoot, arms hugging her sides. You're really going, she said. I am. Alone. I looked at her for a long moment. Unless something's changed. Her breath hitched. But she didn't move. I reached for the doorknob. Then, Her voice broke. I was wrong. I turned. Tears welled in her eyes before they spilled. No dramatics, no anger, just raw, quiet regret. I was selfish, she said, voice shaking. I treated this marriage like something I could rewrite whenever I got bored. I blamed you for my restlessness instead of facing what I was afraid of in myself. She stepped closer. I spent money like respect didn't matter. I laughed off your concern like your love was disposable. But you kept showing up. You kept waiting for me to see it. I stayed still. Let her speak. I disrespected our home, our trust, our future, and you still gave me a chance to catch up. Her voice broke completely then. Please, don't leave me behind. I looked down at my suitcase, then back at her. You know, I said quietly, I bought 2 tickets. The same night you made those purchases. She blinked, confused. I was going to surprise you. Thought we needed a break. A real one. Just us. Time away from bills and routines, and whatever this was becoming. She covered her mouth with her hand. But then I saw the transactions. And it hit me. What's the point of giving someone the world if they're already trading it for pieces of their own? She took a step closer. Why didn't you cancel the second ticket? Because part of me hoped you'd understand what this trip was really about. And what's that? Rebuilding. From honesty. From respect. From choice. Her shoulders sank. Then let me choose now. Please. I studied her face. Not the makeup. Not the eyes red from crying. But the way she wasn't performing anymore. Not this time. And maybe that's what I've been waiting for. Without a word, I stepped aside and nodded toward the stairs. Go pack. She stared for a moment, then bolted up like the floor had caught fire under her feet. I leaned against the doorframe, watching the morning light stretch across our quiet street. And for the first time in a long time, I felt it again. Hope. Not blind, not foolish, but earned. If you've made it this far, let me ask you something. What would you do if someone you loved forgot how to love you back? Would you walk away? Or would you wait, just long enough for them to remember? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our other stories. You might just find the next one hits a little closer than you expect. I'll see you there.